The first time I realized something was horribly wrong was at my sister's husband's funeral. Everyone was crying, except her. She stood there with this strange calmness, almost like she knew a secret no one else did. And then, 2 days later, I found something in her bedroom that made my blood run cold. My sister wasn't just mourning her husband. She was hiding a truth that would destroy both of us. If something like this ever happened to you, tell me in the comments. And please subscribe to our channel, because what I'm about to share will change the way you look at family, trust, and love forever. My name is Emily Carter. I'm 32 years old, and I grew up in a small town outside of Portland, Oregon. My sister Rachel is 5 years older than me. We were inseparable as kids, two halves of the same soul. But everything changed the day she married David Miller. David seemed perfect. He was charming, ambitious, and he treated Rachel like she was the only woman in the world. At least, that's what I thought. When they got married, I was the maid of honor. I remember standing there with flowers in my hand, looking at Rachel's glowing smile, thinking, she's the luckiest woman alive. What I didn't know was that, years later, that same man would turn my world into a nightmare. It started subtly. David was always extra kind to me whenever I visited. Too kind, almost. Compliments that went a little too far, smiles that lingered longer than they should. But I ignored it, telling myself I was imagining things. He was my brother-in-law, after all. Rachel and David had a big house just outside the city. Whenever I visited, I always felt this strange tension in the air. Rachel seemed happy on the outside, but I could see shadows in her eyes. I thought maybe it was stress, or maybe they were trying to have kids and struggling. I never pushed. Rachel hated talking about her problems. But then David started calling me when Rachel wasn't home. Just checking in, he'd say casually. Or, you and Rachel are so alike, it's scary sometimes. I should have stopped him right then. But I didn't. The day that changed everything came 5 years later. I was at work when I got the call. David had died in a car accident. I dropped my phone. My knees gave out. For some reason, I wasn't just shocked, I felt this strange emptiness, like a part of me had been ripped away. At the funeral, Rachel looked like a statue. People whispered that maybe the grief was too much for her. But I saw something else in her eyes, something that terrified me. It wasn't grief. It was relief. That night, when everyone was asleep, I walked past Rachel's bedroom. The door was slightly open. She was sitting on the floor, clutching a photograph, whispering to herself. I leaned closer. "I won," she said. "He's mine now. All mine." My stomach twisted. What did she mean by that? 2 days later, I returned to the house to help Rachel pack up David's things. While she was in the kitchen, I went into the study. On the desk, hidden under a pile of papers, I found something that froze me in place. A marriage certificate. With David's name. And mine. I gasped. My name. My signature. My handwriting. But I had never signed this. My hands shook as I turned the document over. There was a date, 3 years ago. Which meant, while David was married to Rachel, he had also been married to me. No, it wasn't possible. I tried to convince myself it was some kind of cruel mistake, maybe a forged document. But deep down, something clicked in my mind. The strange phone calls. His lingering looks. His late-night texts that I never told Rachel about. The truth crashed over me like a tidal wave. David had married both of us. I confronted Rachel that evening. "Rachel," I said, my voice trembling. "We need to talk about David." Her eyes narrowed. "What about him?" I placed the certificate on the table. She froze. Her face went pale, then red. "Where did you get this?" she demanded. "Answer me, Rachel." I shouted. "Why is my name on this? Did you know?" Her lips curled into a bitter smile. "Of course I knew. Do you think I'm stupid? I found out years ago." My heart stopped. "And you stayed with him?" Her eyes glistened with fury. "Stayed?" "Emily," I fought. "I wasn't going to let my little sister steal my husband. He was mine first." I stumbled back, my head spinning. "I didn't steal him. Rachel, I didn't even know." She laughed, a hollow, broken sound. "You really believe that? You think he just accidentally married you?" Wake up. He loved you, Emily. He loved you more than me. And I hated you for it. At that moment, everything shattered. My sister, the person I trusted most, had been living with this secret, this rage, for years. But that wasn't the worst part. Because Rachel wasn't done talking. You think his death was an accident, she whispered, her eyes glinting with something dark. Emily, nothing about David's death was an accident. I froze. What? What do you mean? She leaned in, her voice barely a breath. Let's just say, sometimes fate needs a little push. My heart slammed against my ribs. Was she confessing? Did Rachel have something to do with David's death? Before I could ask, her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen and smirked. Looks like the past isn't done with us yet, she said, and walked away, leaving me shaking, clutching that cursed piece of paper, my world collapsing around me. Rachel walked out of the room with that cold smirk, leaving me trembling. Her last words echoed in my head. Sometimes fate needs a little push. I couldn't breathe. My own sister was admitting that she had something to do with her husband's death, our husband's death. I clutched the certificate so hard that my nails dug into the paper. My mind raced. Why would Rachel confess this to me? Was she taunting me? Warning me? Or was she planning something even worse? That night, I couldn't sleep. Every sound in the house made me jump. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if I was next. At around 3 a.m., I heard footsteps in the hallway. Slow, deliberate. They stopped outside my door. My heart pounded so loudly I thought it would wake the whole neighborhood. The doorknob rattled. I froze. Then silence. The footsteps faded away. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. The next morning, Rachel acted like nothing had happened. She made coffee, smiled politely, and asked if I wanted pancakes. I stared at her, trying to read her face. But she was calm, almost too calm. I decided to leave the house for a while. Clear my head. But as I walked toward the door, Rachel stopped me. Emily, she said softly. You're not thinking of going to the police, are you? I froze. What? Her smile was sweet, but her eyes were ice. Because if you are, remember this. David's secrets don't just die with him. If you expose me, you expose yourself too. I didn't understand. What do you mean, expose myself? Rachel leaned closer. You think you were innocent in all of this? Sweet little Emily. Always pretending she didn't know. But you did know. Deep down, you knew David wanted you. And you let it happen. Tears burned my eyes. No, Rachel, I swear I didn't. She cut me off. The world won't believe you. They'll see a jealous younger sister, desperate for her sister's husband. Do you really want your reputation destroyed? Your life ruined? My throat tightened. She wasn't just threatening me. She was trapping me. I couldn't stay in that house any longer. That evening, while Rachel was on the phone in the kitchen, I slipped into the study again. I had to find answers, proof, something that would clear me. In one of the drawers, I found a black leather journal. My hands shook as I opened it. It was David's handwriting. Page after page, he wrote about his double life. About marrying Rachel. About marrying me. About how he loved us both in different ways. But then the entries grew darker. Rachel is watching me. She knows something. Asterisk, Emily doesn't know the truth. She thinks I love her. But if she ever finds out, asterisk. The last entry chilled me to the bone. If I don't survive this month, it won't be an accident. Rachel will make sure of that. I dropped the journal, my breath coming in sharp gasps. David had known. He had feared her. And now he was dead. I wanted to run to the police immediately. But just as I picked up the journal, Rachel's voice rang out behind me. Looking for something, Emily? I spun around. She was standing in the doorway, her eyes locked on the journal in my hands. For the first time, her mask slipped. Her face twisted with rage. That doesn't belong to you, she hissed. Rachel, I stammered, you killed him. It's right here. His words. He knew you would. Shut up, she screamed, lunging forward. She snatched the journal and shoved me against the wall. You think you're so innocent? You think you can just walk away from this? No, Emily. If David loved you more than me, then you should be the one buried, not him. Her grip tightened around my wrist. For a moment, I thought she was going to kill me right there. But then, just as suddenly, she let go. She straightened her dress, smoothed her hair, and smiled. "Go pack your things," she said calmly. "You're leaving tomorrow. For good. And if you tell anyone what you found, you won't live long enough to regret it." That night, I sat in my room, shaking, trapped, terrified. But as the hours passed, one thought grew stronger and stronger inside me. I couldn't just leave. Rachel had killed David. She had destroyed both our lives. If I walked away, she would win. And worse, she might come after me again. No, I had to fight back. The next morning, I pretended to obey. I packed my bags, smiled weakly at Rachel, and told her I'd be gone by noon. But secretly, I slipped David's old phone into my bag. I had found it hidden in the drawer under the journal. The battery was dead, but maybe, just maybe, it still held the truth. I checked into a motel outside town and plugged it in. My hands shook as the screen lit up. Dozens of messages appeared. Texts between David and Rachel. "You can't stop me, Rachel. If you try to hurt Emily, I'll tell her everything. She deserves to know the truth. She deserves to know who I really love." And then Rachel's last reply. "If you love her so much, maybe you should die for her." I dropped the phone, my entire body trembling. It was undeniable. Rachel had threatened him. And now, he was gone. I had enough evidence now, the journal, the texts. But going to the police meant going against my own sister. The same sister who raised me, protected me, shared every secret with me growing up. Could I really destroy her? The answer came the next evening when I returned to the house one last time. I found Rachel in the living room, holding a glass of wine, staring at David's photo. She didn't even look up when I entered. "You came back," she said flatly. "Yes," I whispered. She turned to me, her eyes glistening. "You don't understand, Emily. He was mine. He was supposed to be mine forever. But he couldn't stop looking at you. He couldn't stop wanting you. Do you know what that feels like? To have your husband, your life, stolen by your own sister." Tears rolled down my cheeks. "Rachel, I never wanted him. I never wanted this." She slammed her glass down. "Liar. You loved every second of it." Her face twisted with rage. She reached for something on the table, a knife. My heart stopped. She stepped toward me, her voice breaking. "If I can't have him, no one can. And if he loved you more, then you should join him in the grave." I stumbled back, my hands shaking. "Rachel, please." But she kept coming. Rachel's footsteps echoed on the hardwood floor as she closed the distance between us, the knife gleaming under the dim light. My heart raced so violently I thought it might burst out of my chest. "Rachel, please," I whispered, backing toward the wall. "You don't have to do this." Her face was twisted in grief and rage. "I already did this once, Emily. David thought he could betray me, love you, humiliate me. And now? You'll never take what's mine again." I could barely breathe. My back hit the wall. The knife was only inches away from my chest now. Suddenly, Rachel froze. The sound of sirens filled the night air. Her eyes widened. She looked toward the window. "What did you do?" I swallowed hard. My voice trembled, but I forced the words out. I sent everything. The texts. The journal. David's voice recordings. "They're with the police right now." Her face turned pale. "You're lying." But she knew I wasn't. Rachel screamed and lunged at me. I grabbed the nearest thing I could, a lamp, and swung it with all the strength left in my trembling hands. The lamp crashed against her arm, the knife clattering to the floor. Rachel staggered, clutching her wrist, her face burning with fury. "You ruined everything, Emily. Everything." The door burst open. Police officers stormed inside, shouting commands. Rachel turned toward them, but it was too late. 2 officers pinned her to the ground, handcuffing her as she screamed and fought. "Emily," she cried, her voice breaking. "Tell them I'm innocent. Tell them it was you. Don't let them take me." But I couldn't. I just stood there, sobbing as they dragged her away. The house fell silent. The photo of David still sat on the table, staring at me with that same smile I once thought was full of love. But now I knew the truth. Behind that smile was a man who had lied, betrayed, and destroyed us both. Rachel wasn't wrong about everything. He had played us against each other. He had made us enemies when we should have been sisters. But Rachel made her choice. She chose murder. And now she would pay for it. Weeks later, I sat in the courtroom, watching as Rachel faced the judge. She looked so different now, her once perfect hair tangled, her confident posture broken. When the evidence was read aloud, the diary, the texts, the fingerprints on the car David accidentally crashed, it all came together. The jury took only 2 hours to decide. Guilty. Rachel's eyes met mine as the verdict was announced. For a brief moment, I saw my sister again, the girl who once braided my hair, the girl who held my hand when I was scared of the dark. But then the guards led her away and she was gone. After the trial, I walked out of the courthouse into the cold winter air. Reporters shouted questions, cameras flashed, but I didn't stop. Because the truth was, I wasn't free either. Yes, Rachel was behind bars. Yes, David was gone. But the scars he left on both of us, the lies, the betrayal, the poison he spread in our family, would never fully heal. I had lost my sister. I had lost the man I thought I loved. I had lost the life I thought I had. All that was left was me, alone. But maybe that was also the beginning. Because now, for the first time in years, I wasn't living in someone else's shadow. This was my story, my survival, my truth. And though it ended in tragedy, it also ended with freedom.